Welcome to Millionaire Mindset, where we give you ways and advice to achieve financial freedom. Everyone loves rooting for the underdog in a rags to riches fairy tale. However, especially in reality, this is far easier said than done. It is more common for families to become trapped in an almost impossible to break cycle of poverty. That's why in this video, we will try to make sense out of this and list 7 reasons why is it so difficult for these low-income families to improve their situation. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Number 1. You don't monitor your bank account. It's easy to get stressed out and neglect a bill when you don't have much money. You could easily withdraw your entire account if you do so, then you'll have to spend more to get out of debt, which will put you even further behind. All these tiny things pile up rapidly, and no matter how hard you try to get out of debt, they can keep you broke. It's challenging to save money and accumulate emergency funds when you're trying to pay your expenses. It may not be impossible, but it certainly appears to be. Just when you think you've made it, a financial setback throws you back to square one. Number 2. You get stuck in debt traps. You will eventually run out of money to pay your bills, no matter how good you are. Maybe life got in the way and you had to deal with an unexpected repair or medical bill. You've spent all of the money you'd set aside with care, and you've gotten yourself into one of the most common debt traps. Payday loans, debt consolidation scams, and emergency credit card use can have disastrous financial consequences. When you're worried, it's all too easy to make hasty decisions that you'll come to regret later. So be wise when making these decisions. Number 3. Building credit is next to impossible. Almost 14% of Americans do not have a credit score. Your credit score has an impact on your capacity to obtain loans, housing, and even employment. And like with debt traps, if you're impoverished in the first place, you're likely to fall behind on your obligations, which might harm your credit score. Late fines accumulate when you start falling back on your expenses, making it more challenging to catch up. All of these minor blemishes on your credit might cause your score to plummet even more, making it impossible to begin developing a healthy credit portfolio. And even when you begin to develop credit actively, there's a slim margin of error that can cause your score to plummet by dozens of points immediately. There's a missing bill here, a late payment here, and all your hard work is gone. That is why be very careful when getting a credit card and managing your monthly bill. Number 4. Missing out on a quality education. Say what you want about the current state of education, but it helps children have a better opportunity when they become adults. This is why education should be considered a fundamental right for all children worldwide. There are entire international organizations devoted to monitoring this, but still, many children are at risk missing out on their education in many parts of the world due to safety and sanitary concerns. In the world's least developed countries, 1 out of every 5 primary school-age children is out of school. Around half of the children reach year 6, and only a third of the students attend secondary education. In other words, poverty and education are deeply related. Schools may be accessible in many developing countries, but other costs such as school supplies, uniforms, and transportation aren't covered. And if a family cannot cover these costs, then their children will halt their education to start working and helping their parents at a very young age. Number 5. Unexpected expenses seemed never-ending. Unexpected expenses might not be that concerning to you, but these things are big deals for low-income families that have tight monthly budgets. Things like getting sick or replacing a broken appliance. These unplanned expenses can mean the difference between someone who can afford food, rent, or utility payments and not being able to. Since they have a tight budget, they might fall behind on their bills, resulting again in an endless debt cycle. Number 6. The cost of living is rising, but the minimum wage isn't. The federal minimum wage is currently $7.25 per hour, and it hasn't changed since 2009. So if you work 40 hours a week, you'll make $290 before taxes. You'll earn $580 in 2 weeks of full-time employment, or a little under $14,000 a year before taxes. Meanwhile, the expense of living has increased. It currently costs roughly $20,000 per year per person. So the math is simple. Living in this world will always be unsustainable if you're poor. That's why most of us resort to having a second, third, or side job to help pay the bills. The problem is, if one of the states rises its minimum wage, the price will rise as well, so we'll never catch up to it. And this is not just in the US, it's even more severe in underdeveloped countries. Wage work is the exception rather than the rule, since the demand for steady paying jobs outnumbers the supply. Many low-income parents turn to self-employment. These classify as working poor families because of at least one member of the household works. Number 7. Growing up poor. All of the elements mentioned above might significantly impact wealth growth and development. Low-income families typically struggle to meet even their most basic needs. Unlike those born into a middle-class family with their parents owning a home, having a consistent job, and having access to good food and clean water, they are unlikely to possess a house, have access to nutritious food, safe drinking water, or provide a consistent salary to support a child while attending public school. As a result of this, these people are at a severe disadvantage in the first place when it comes to earning money and breaking the cycle of poverty. Not to mention, many poor children do not have financial security coming from their parents, which is why they are more prone to unhealthy relationships with money as adults. It seems that financial stress can be passed down to your kids as well. In other words, growing up poor can create another generation that cannot break the cycle of poverty. There are plenty of ways to break the poverty cycle. However, they require time, attention, and, in some instances, greater financial risk that many poor people are willing to face. The first and most apparent way is education. Many people believe that education is the key to escaping poverty, and in most cases, it's true. Having a college diploma and a solid educational background can help people advance in their careers by providing more employment options and higher income. But we need to address the problems of our public education system right now, like severe budget cuts, overwork and underpaid teachers, and overcrowded classrooms. That is why, in some places, education is not that effective for a developing child. The next opportunity is public policy. It may not look like it, but most governments prioritize providing more accessible avenues for poor people. When it comes to making budget cuts, many local governments turn to various social programs designed to assist those in poverty first. The last way is by having a solid and supportive network or community. It is one of the most important and perhaps the most ignored. If you find yourself in a difficult circumstance, having a support system can help you get through it. Whether it's by offering emotional or mental support, or by providing additional financial assistance to help you pay your bills. Community and our connection to one another are fundamental human needs, just as food, shelter, and clean water are. If you're lucky, you might be able to escape the cycle of poverty over time, and finally, to repay people who aided you when you were in need. Poverty can be a vicious cycle, and numerous factors influence one's financial situation. Unfortunately, many social ideas and government regulations may be working against you. Still, with time, effort, the aid of social agencies and your community, and education, you can lift yourself and future generations out of poverty. That's our video for today. We hope you liked that one. Share your experience in the comment section below if you are one of the lucky ones who escaped the poverty cycle. Your experience will surely inspire others out there. Join us again next time here in Millionaire Mindset for another round of tips in achieving your financial freedom. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.